Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining the Food Handlers Training course prepared by Mentari Training Center. The main objective of Food Handlers Training program is to reduce the incidence of food poisoning. The objective is to comply with the Food Hygiene Regulations 2009, and our learning objective is to enhance understanding and awareness of food handlers on hygienic and safe food handling practices. The course contents of Basic Food Handlers Training is in accordance with the requirements of the Ministry of Health, Malaysia. The Food Handlers Training course must be registered and certified by Ministry of Health, Malaysia. The instructors are trained and certified by Ministry of Health, Malaysia. The course fee shall not exceed 50 ringgit. The duration of the course for each session shall not be less than 3 hours. The number of online course participants shall not exceed 20 people per session. If participants have any questions regarding the requirements of the Food Handlers Training course, they can write in, call or email to FSQD at the address, telephone number or email address as indicated on the slide. The scope of legislation covers food premises and food handlers. Food Regulations 1985 covers the aspects of food safety and quality. Food Hygiene Regulations 2009 covers the aspects or requirements of premises food handlers and food handling. Food hygiene is a requirement of the legislation. Failure to comply may result in shutting down of premises and compounds or fines under the Food Hygiene Regulations 2009. Any food handler who fails to undergo training or obtain a certificate of food handlers training, and if he fails to undergo health check and anti-typhoid vaccination, shall be liable to a fine or compound not exceeding 10,000 ringgit or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. Anti-typhoid vaccine should be administered once every 3 years. Under the Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, in the event of incidents involving food poisoning, the premises involved can be shut down for a period to be determined by an authorized officer, up to a maximum of 14 days. Additionally, bylaws of local authorities like MBEKS, DBKU or SMC in each district enforce certain rules in the license application of food premises, cleanliness, grading of premises, etc. The reason we should know the importance of food hygiene and safety. Because unhygienic and unsafe food can cause food poisoning such as vomiting, nausea, diarrhea and fever. Internal injury due to ingesting hard or sharp objects such as nails, glass, stones, etc. Diseases such as cholera, death, if the condition is critical. Higher risk of death among the elderly and children. Importance of hygiene ensures that foods are clean and safe. Prevents food poisoning. Attracts customers to buy food. Customers want clean, quality and safe foods. Contaminated food can cause foodborne diseases, which will adversely affect its business image. High level of hygiene can reduce the likelihood of pest attacks and increase the shelf life of premises and equipment. Clean food must look clean, be bacteria-free, and poison-free. Contains no impurities. Food hygiene begins with the food handlers themselves. Just with clean-looking food, customers are also affected by the image that food handlers convey, as well as the state of cleanliness of apparatus and premises. But remember, clean food is not necessarily safe food. Is anyone here has taken anti-typhoid vaccination? Injections can be administered at a nearby clinic or medical center. Under the Food Hygiene Regulations 2009, food handlers are required to undergo medical examination to determine if food handlers suffer from or is a carrier of waterborne and foodborne diseases that could lead to food contamination. Examples of infectious diseases: hepatitis B, tuberculosis, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, etc. Examples of waterborne and foodborne diseases: cholera, typhoid fever, etc. Get anti-typhoid vaccination once every 3 years to prevent typhoid fever. Symptoms of typhoid fever: high fever, stomach pains, headache, loss of appetite, etc. Diseases can spread via body fluids such as sweat, saliva, etc. When food handlers cough, sneeze, or do not practice good personal hygiene, virus from body fluids enters the food and multiplies. Customers with weak immune systems, particularly children and the elderly, who consume these foods will likely get infected. If you are ill or injured, report immediately to the employer. Get medical treatment. Do not handle food until certified fit by a medical officer. For minor injuries such as cuts, apply a clean, waterproof dressing which should be changed regularly. Never use regular cloth to wrap wounds, as bacteria can multiply and blood from the wound can flow out easily and contaminate the food. In addition, food handlers who suffer from foodborne diseases are prohibited from entering the premises or handle food. Suspended from work until they have recovered or be given other duties. Food handlers must ensure they shower before starting work business. Do not wear accessories or jewelry such as watches, rings, bracelets, etc. Fingernails are kept short and varnish-free. Please look at your own hands now. See if you are wearing accessories such as rings, bracelets, watches, etc. And please remove them temporarily. Accessories can collect dirt such as skin flakes, sweat, etc., which can contaminate food. Dirt on these accessories can transfer to in between fingers and under the fingernails. In addition, accessories or jewelry can become detached and fall into the food without the food handlers being aware of it. By failing to comply, you can be fined or compounded by the enforcement of the authorities. The importance of hygiene are to prevent contamination of food, to reduce incidents of food poisoning, no prosecution, to present a good image of food handlers, to generate customer confidence. If you are clean, customers will feel confident and will make return visits. You are the main cause of food poisoning. Bacteria are present on the human body and may be easily disseminated or transmitted, particularly via hands. This is the proper dress code for food handlers. Incorrect clothing of food handlers during food handling: not wearing a hair cover, wearing a dirty apron, wearing slippers, using dirty wiping cloths, smoking, wearing jewelry or accessories. Common bad practices of food handlers: tasting by dipping finger into the food, smoking, scratching or touching any parts of the body before touching food with bare hands, clearing nostrils with finger, coughing or sneezing near over food, wearing jewelry, accessories, using the same utensils for both raw and cooked foods, using the same wiping cloth to wipe hands, dishes, tables and other equipment, spitting indiscriminately. Other common bad practices by food handlers. Example: wiping hands on clothing or apron before touching food, holding money and then touching food with the same hand, etc. Good practices to be adopted by food handlers: wearing gloves when handling raw foods and foodstuff. Gloves should be changed after each use. The same gloves cannot be used for different purposes. Using tongs or ladle to scoop up food. Using different tongs or ladle for different foods. Washing utensils at appropriate places such as a sink. Washing hands every time before and after handing food. Wearing neat, clean and appropriate clothing. Avoiding bad practices that can contaminate food. Tips. If there are different types of food to handle, use tongs or ladles instead of gloves, as the tendency for abuse when wearing gloves is greater than using tongs or ladles. 7 steps of hand washing. Food handlers should wash their hands after using the restroom, after smoking, after sneezing or coughing, after cleaning process, before handling food, after handling garbage, after touching parts of body, particularly nose, mouth, ears and eyes, when hands are dirty, or after doing something that is considered dirty. Tips: preferably use push or automatic taps to prevent hands from touching tap handles when opening and closing taps. Kitchen appliances and equipment. Wash thoroughly before and after use. Keep tidy in a clean place. Must be used the correct way. Bottom of plates must be washed clean. Avoid using wooden appliances such as wooden cutting boards or knives with wooden handles, as they are difficult to clean and pieces of wood may be left on the food. Equipment that is in poor condition, such as broken and rusty appliances, an incorrect method of cleaning will reduce the effectiveness of food preparation process. Examples of equipment: if left unclean, oven stains will form a layer of dirt. This will reduce the rate of heat flow and affects the function of the oven. As a result, food will not be properly cooked. Strainers that are covered with thick dirt and rust prevent the straining process of raw foods such as coconut milk. Rust on metal filters can also contaminate food and cause food poisoning. Debris from damaged equipment can easily fall into foods and contaminate food. Wooden appliances absorb moisture and are difficult to clean. As such, they are the perfect breeding grounds for fungi and bacteria. Food contamination will occur if mold or toxins from fungi and bacteria enter the foods. Using equipment during food preparation. Use clean, well-maintained, non-toxic and easy-to-clean equipment. Use separate cutting boards and knives for cutting raw and cooked foods to prevent cross-contamination. Use the correct equipment and apparatus for its intended purposes. Example: do not use a knife to open tin cans. Use a can opener. Use plastic apparatus instead of wooden ones. Example: wooden cutting boards. The 5 basic steps of cleaning. Removal of food soil and food residue by pre-rinsing or wiping. Removal of surface grease and dirt using detergent. Removal of loose dirt and detergent with water. Disinfection kills and destroys germs to a safe level using disinfectant or hot water. Drying by natural evaporation or wipe dry using a clean towel. Most common mistakes committed by food handlers during cleaning occur at the drying stage. The best method of drying is air drying. A common habit of food handlers is the use of dirty wiping cloths to dry plates or equipment, as this causes the transfer of bacteria from cloth to clean plates. Other offenses: failure to wash or clean the outside and bottom of equipment, particularly plates and cups, before stacking them. This causes dirt from the outside to be transferred on top or inside the equipment. For small vendors, the 5 basic steps of cleaning also apply. Rinsing and drying should be done correctly and no detergent or disinfectant residue should remain on the equipment. The function of grease traps is to intercept grease and other matter from flowing into the main wastewater system. Common practices of food handlers during cleaning. Rinse water from cleaning of cooking equipment not flowing properly or is stagnant. Drying plates with dirty wiping cloth. Using the same wiping cloth for everything. Example: wiping cloth to wipe tables, plates, etc. Cleaning is done on the floor, in an open area and close to the place where food is being prepared. Cleaning area is dirty and untidy. Cleaning of raw foods is carried out during cleaning of equipment or other apparatus. Describes the process of cleaning and sanitizing. Cleaning process. Process of removing soils with water and detergent. Detergent can either be liquid, solid, gel or powder form. Sanitizing process. Process of disinfecting germs after the cleaning process. Sanitizers can either be aerosol or liquid form. Both processes are essential as they prevent food contamination of detergent into foods. Cleanliness of equipment and premises is possible to attain if cleaning and sanitizing are done the correct way and at a proper place. Building or premises needs to be in good condition and easy to maintain and clean. For food stalls, it is recommended that stainless steel is used for food contact surfaces. Avoid the use of wood as it decays easily. Building design should be simple with smooth surfaces. According to the Food Act 1983 and Food Regulations 1985, cleanliness of food premises is mandatory. Action can be taken against owners of dirty premises and the premises sealed. The likelihood of food contamination in dirty premises is high. Dirty premises will also attract pests. Well-kept and well-maintained premises and equipment are likely to remain in good condition for a longer period of time. Picture showing dirty and poorly maintained premises. Rotting wooden doors where bacteria can grow, and if left unchecked, pests can enter through gaps in the decayed wood. Detached ceiling can cause injury if it drops down. Ceiling pieces can fall into foods placed below it and cause food contamination. Dirty floors and loose tiles. This leads to uneven floors which can trap dirt and makes it difficult to clean. Clogged and dirty drainage system attracts pests, collects dirt, and creates an unpleasant smell inside the premises. Roadside premises get dirty easily and should be cleaned more frequently. Food is also easily contaminated with dust and fine sand. Poor and dirty ventilation. Air carries germs which causes food contamination. Customers will not feel comfortable in dirty and dusty premises. Action by owner of premises. Make sure that premises are cleaned before and after business. If possible, clean more frequently as dirt and dust tend to stick on food equipment and appliances. Food served should always be covered and not leave them exposed. Make sure that raw foods are stored in covered and appropriate places to prevent pests from entering the premises. No pests are allowed in food premises. Examples of pests are cockroaches, flies, rats, cats, birds, dogs, etc. The acronym LILATI is often used to refer to cockroaches, flies, and rats. Preventive measures. Ensure that there are no cracks or holes in the food premises to prevent pest entry. Ensure that food premises are kept clean. Ensure that drains and drainage are in good condition and not clogged. Ensure that rubbish bags are tied and trash cans are covered with their lids. Hire a pest control company to manage pest control in food premises. Clogged and dirty drainage system can attract pests, collect dirt, and cause an unpleasant smell inside the premises. Effects. Causes food contamination due to presence of pests. Customers will gradually stop frequenting the place due to the unpleasant smell. Action can be taken by an authorized officer. Food residue or refuse is placed in plastic bags. Plastic bags must be tied tightly so that food residue does not spill out. Plastic bags are disposed of in covered plastic bag-lined rubbish bins. Food traders must ensure that they do not mix food and non-food waste together. Dispose food residue in the drains. Dispose used oil and grease in the drains or into the wastewater system. Leave waste improperly disposed, such as not putting them in plastic bags, not tying up plastic bags, not disposing the plastic bags in the correct place. Rubbish bins should be sufficiently lined with plastic bags with covers properly maintained, easily cleaned. Improper waste management can result in dirty premises and attracts pests. This will increase the risk of food contamination. Preferably, provide rubbish bins with foot pedals for opening the lid so that food handlers need not use their hands to lift the lids. Safe food must be free of harmful bacteria, poison, toxins, fecal and other waste matter. Picture showing a clean-looking bowl of rice with side dishes that has been contaminated by a dead fly. This means that clean food is not necessarily safe food. Therefore, food hygiene and food safety are the two important factors that need to be emphasized. Factors affecting food safety starts from the time raw foods are selected till the time when a prepared food is served. If raw foods are dirty and of poor quality, then the production of quality and safe food is difficult to achieve. Quality of raw foods affects the cleanliness and safety of the final product. Fruits and vegetables, not droopy, not moldy, no maggots, not rotten fish, firm and elastic flesh, clear eyes, red gills, meat and meat products, not spoiled, not slimy and no unpleasant smell, eggs and egg products, not cracked, not broken and clean shells, no chicken dropping, processed food, not dented, not torn or broken, not rusty, and not swollen. Before opening the packaging, read the label first and clean the outside of packaging, especially if there is evidence of pests in the premises, such as droppings, odor, etc. Example: food packed in cans, pouches, boxes, etc. Examples of raw dry foods: cereals and cereal products, rice, sugar, salt, flour, etc. Characteristics of a good selection: not damp or wet, not rotten, shiny, no insects or foreign material. For imported foods, make sure that the name and address of importer and country of origin are stated on the label. Read the label before buying. Expiry date, list of ingredients, storage and handling method. Water sources must be clean, uncontaminated, odorless, tasteless, treated. Example: piped water from the Department of Water Supply, always sufficient. If stored, it must be kept in clean and covered containers. Where possible, install a filter to filter out any remaining impurities in treated water. 2. Do not use water from wells, rain, rivers, ponds, lakes. Make sure that ice is from a safe source of drinking water. Ice must be bought from premises registered and licensed with the Ministry of Health. For premises that do not have clean water, the use of filters is highly recommended. Use of untreated well water is prohibited. The concept of keeping food in the refrigerator should be emphasized on the participants. Most food service sectors rarely have two separate freezers for raw and finished products. The concept of storing in the same refrigerator is needed to prevent cross-contamination. Principles of proper storage follow the concept of first in, first out. Food kept in shallow containers to hasten cooling. Avoid overcrowding to assist cooling process. Cooked foods must be kept away from raw foods. If there is no choice, raw foods should be placed at the bottom shelf to avoid cross-contamination. Organizing foods in the refrigerator: perishable foods kept in covered containers in the freezer. Cooked foods kept in covered containers on the top shelf of chiller. Processed foods such as condensed milk and cheese and cut fruits are kept in covered containers on the second shelf. Defrost raw foods in covered containers on the bottom shelf. Fruits and vegetables kept in covered containers on bottommost shelf. Put bottled drinks, dressings, etc. on the shelves of refrigerator door. Eggs are placed in the rack provided. The temperature range is known as the danger zone. At this temperature, microorganisms such as bacteria grow and multiply rapidly. What happens to microorganisms at temperatures outside of the danger zone? Temperatures less than 5 degrees Celsius, most microbes become dormant, while at temperatures over 63 degrees Celsius, most harmful microbes are killed. Therefore, raw or cooked foods cannot be kept at danger zone temperatures, as foods are easily spoiled and contaminated. Foods should be cooked thoroughly at a temperature exceeding the critical zone. Ensure that raw foods are washed with clean, running water, not mixed together with different types of food, such as meats and vegetables, to prevent cross-contamination. Handled at an elevated place, at least 90 centimeters above the floor, always under hygienic conditions. Far away from toilets. using clean gloves if necessary. Incorrect handling of raw foods, not using separate equipment such as cutting boards and knives for cutting meat and vegetables. Using dirty hands to mix ingredients. Carried out on the floor. Dirty and broken equipment. This can cause food contamination. Defrosting. Thaw food completely and keep it away from other foods to avoid cross-contamination. Methods of defrosting: in the chiller compartment of the refrigerator, in the microwave oven, under running water. Avoid refreezing thawed food. This process is crucial in ensuring that food will be sufficiently cooked. Incomplete thawing of food will affect the uniformity of heat distribution on the food during cooking. For frozen products, example, nuggets, curry puffs, the method of defrosting is stated on the label. Cross-contamination is contamination that occurs from raw foods to ready-to-eat foods by means of hands, knives, and equipment. Using separate equipment for different food types can prevent cross-contamination. Some examples of cross-contamination that are usually caused by food handlers. Wrapping handles of cooking equipment with cloth can cause pieces of fabric or yarn to fall into the food. Putting cutting boards on top of rubbish bins or on the floor can cause bacteria and fungi to grow on the cutting board. Keeping foods in the ice storage can cause contamination to the ice. Refrigerators that are not organized according to the principles of correct storage can result in cross-contamination of raw foods and ready-to-eat foods. Mixing leftovers with new foods. 1. Cooking. Cook food at the correct temperature and duration. Use of a thermometer is encouraged. Avoid cooking too far ahead of time as foods cannot be served after more than 4 hours. Example: don't cook lunch for 12 p.m. too early in the morning at 3 a.m. During the time between 3 a.m. to 12 noon, more than 4 hours, bacteria can grow and multiply in the food. 2. Correct the combination of time and temperature for cooking meat products: 60 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes, 65 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, 70 degrees Celsius for 2 minutes, 75 degrees Celsius for 30 seconds. Do not reheat foods over and over again as the food may no longer be fresh and contamination by the environment might have occurred during the heating process. Do not mix leftover food with freshly cooked food. Pictures showing undercooked foods: partially cooked fried eggs, chicken that is still pink in the middle, meat that is still pink. Causes of undercooked food: insufficient heat, food chunks are too thick or too large, food is not completely thawed, improper cooking equipment. Cooked foods must first be left to cool before putting them in the refrigerator. Example: side dishes is refrigerated in shallow containers. Hot food cannot immediately be stored in the refrigerator as the heat will cause the temperature to rise inside the refrigerator, causing the temperature of other foods to rise as well. Bacteria in the foods will multiply and spoils the food. Use appropriate heat-resistant packaging that is in good condition, clean and not contaminated with any impurities. Avoid packing food that is too hot. Don't reuse packing containers. Use of inappropriate packaging can also cause chemical poisoning, such as using low-density polyethylene (LDPE) plastic packaging for hot water. Reusing mineral water bottles over and over again. Packing very hot foods in polystyrene packing containers. Cooked foods must first be left to cool before putting them in the refrigerator. Example: side dishes is refrigerated in shallow containers. Hot food cannot immediately be stored in the refrigerator as the heat will cause the temperature to rise inside the refrigerator, causing the temperature of other foods to rise as well. Bacteria in the foods will multiply and spoils the food. Very hot foods can trigger a chemical reaction on the packaging surfaces. Chemicals from the reaction can then migrate into the food, causing food contamination. Never use newspapers or printed paper to pack foods as ink on the paper will contaminate food. Furthermore, Paper can easily tear and bits of the paper can migrate into the food. Food should be eaten within 4 hours after cooking. Use a heater if food is to be served more than 2 hours from the time they are cooked, and make sure that the temperature is 63 degrees Celsius. Use clean, crack-free and chip-free utensils. Food must be covered and not exposed to pests. Ensure that food is not touched by hand. Tongs should be held at the handle end and not the food end. This is to avoid the hand from touching and contaminating the food. Avoid using plastic mesh food covers, as pests can enter through gaps in the mesh. Woven food covers, as pieces of weaving material can fall into the food. Don't serve food by stacking each on top of the other, as soil from plate bottoms can contaminate the food. Don't leave food or drinks uncovered to prevent pests from getting into the food. Don't touch food or drinks with bare hands to prevent dirt from the hands or underneath the fingernails from contaminating the food. Carriages must have the following features: clean and in good working order. Suitable vehicle temperature for chilled or frozen foods. Permits the separation of foods from non-food items. All foods must be covered packed. Food is not in direct contact with floor of vehicle. For vehicle with a refrigerated storage space constructed with impervious material. Cooling system that allows for easy checking, such as equipping it with a thermometer, etc. The critical factors that cause food poisoning based on past food poisoning cases. There are 12 main factors touching food with bare hands. Cross-contamination from raw to ready-to-eat foods. Cooking too far ahead of time, served after more than 4 hours. Undercooked food, reheating mixture of leftovers and freshly cooked food. Spoiled, contaminated raw foods. Frozen raw food is not completely thawed. Storage of raw and cooked foods at incorrect temperature in place. Food handler suffers from a disease and does not practice good personal hygiene. Food left exposed to pests. Dirty and broken equipment. Dirty and poorly maintained premises. Hands are the main medium of food contamination, as all food production processes are done by hand. Therefore, hands must be kept clean at all times and avoid touching food using bare hands. Use tongs or a ladle to scoop up food. Special trays can be used to carry food and drinks. This course aims to produce food handlers who are knowledgeable, responsible, and practice proper food handling practices. Safe and quality food and drinks are possible if food handlers practice good personal hygiene and proper food handling. Raw foods that are used must always be clean and of good quality. Premises with clean and proper structures and facilities. Follow proper and hygienic food handling practices, as customers will feel assured in coming back to clean food premises. Traders will get good returns. Improper food handling and dirty premises can affect business, particularly if food poisoning has occurred, for which food handlers can be prosecuted. Thank you and congratulations to all of you for successfully fulfilling all requirements of a food handler. Goodbye and take good care.